Hey everyone, today we're going to be talking about some news from Yoshi-P from an article by Inverse Luminaries, and I'll post a link in the description to the article in case you want to go check it out. The article does cover some very interesting thoughts that Yoshi-P has on the future of gaming, but we're not going to cover all of that. We're just going to talk about the parts that are relevant to Final Fantasy XVI. One of the major criticisms of Final Fantasy XVI, a game that has yet to be released or even fully revealed, is that it just doesn't fit the traditional mold for a Final Fantasy game. Now, I agree, it's missing some elements that are very common in Final Fantasy entries. So we're talking about turn-based combat. We're talking about a party system where you can select exactly who you want to go into your formation so you can bring your favorite characters into battle. Now, Yoshi-P has said in previous interviews that he wants to appeal to a new demographic, a younger player base, players that don't play these turn-based games, and they're going to bring in new fans and rejuvenate this series. And in this article, he goes into more detail. So we're going to look at two main quotes I think are pretty relevant here. And the first one reads, "For me, Final Fantasy is about having a deep story, rich game design, the best game audio to accompany those aspects, as well as the inclusion of chocobos, moogles, and summons." Now, I can agree with everything that he said here. All of those things are certainly hallmarks of a Final Fantasy game. Notice how he admitted some of the features that people have been clamoring for. I know he's addressed the turn-based concern before by saying that the action combat is going to bring in new players, but also that it's going to create a seamless viewing experience for the narrative that they want to tell in Final Fantasy XVI. But I'd still like to hear more about this decision. How did Square Enix come into it? Do they have any sort of skin in the game of what Final Fantasy should look like, or are they just looking for successful games that are going to make money? Because at the end of the day, the game that we're getting is the game that we're getting. It's done. It's just being worked on to like optimize whatever they're doing, making sure there's no bugs, etc. Put final touches on. The game is done, so we're getting the game that we're going to get. And Yoshi-P is a very ambitious director, so I don't think that he's someone that is going to cater to demands from fans, although he is going to cater to what he thinks that fans want ultimately. But he does have a proven track record, and that's kind of indisputable. So I don't have any doubt that the game is actually going to be good. I think it's going to be great. We have more reasons to trust Yoshi-P than we do to compare Final Fantasy XVI to Final Fantasy XV, if that makes sense. So some kind of assurance is what I want that this isn't going to be the future of all mainline Final Fantasy titles. So here's the thing. If Final Fantasy XVI does really well, what does that mean for the future of Final Fantasy titles? Square Enix they're not going to ignore success, or rather money. So, while I'm hoping for the best game possible, it's hard to not be cynical about that classic Final Fantasy experience fading away. And I feel like this is a good segue into the second quote, which reads, "In terms of whether Final Fantasy is successfully adapting to industry trends, I believe the series is currently struggling. We're now at a point where we receive a wide variety of requests regarding the direction of our game design. To be honest, it'd be impossible to satisfy all those requests with a single title. My current impression is that all we can really do is create multiple games and continue creating the best that we can at any given time." So at least he's acknowledging that there are a lot of requests about how Final Fantasy games should be directed. And he's right that he can't satisfy everyone. His solution is that they need to make more games, and the way that these games can be made could be for the various people that want them. The problem is, as I mentioned before, that these games also have to be successful. So I wonder how many people would be happy if we did get a classic turn-based Final Fantasy experience regularly, but it wasn't a mainline game. I would certainly be grateful for that, but at the same time, we just know that it wouldn't be getting the same amount of resources that would be going into a game like Final Fantasy XVI. Now, to play the devil's advocate here about maybe the game going in a different direction, if I take my favorite Final Fantasy, number 4, and I think what would it be like to run around in that world at a Final Fantasy XVI level? Wouldn't that be amazing? I could hack and slash as Cecil or jump into the sky as Cain, and wouldn't all the other things that made Final Fantasy IV my favorite still be there? The music, the story, the world. And now I don't know if I quite buy my own comparison here, but the point is that I can't actually envision being in a Final Fantasy world in state-of-the-art graphics and being in an action system, even if it isn't a turn-based game. Does that mean that I personally want action over turn-based? No, it doesn't. I want turn-based over action. But I'm just saying that maybe we can be in a Final Fantasy game without it being turn-based. But that's enough for me, and I very much would like to hear from you. So would you accept a non-numbered turn-based Final Fantasy game, or do you expect more from Square Enix? And since you made it this far into the video, please give it a like. It really does help my channel grow, and I do appreciate the support. So thank you so much, everybody, for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next video.